council meeting. Any public input before we start the new business? I'm just going to mention something. I had a couple calls from business owners with regard to mobile businesses that come to town and just wanted a few questions asked. And I did respond to one business owner, and I will be responding to another one tomorrow. But I do appreciate those questions. If somebody has anything that they would like to ask to get some clarification on, I would please invite them to reach out. Having said that, with regard to a peddler's issue, if it's a door-to-door salesman, they are required to have a peddler's license. So if you're solicited anything to your door, that's something that you're within the realms of, asking for, because the city does want to know anything of that nature that is going on. So we just, I think it's one means of knowing that they're out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but another means by protecting the community from anything that shouldn't take place. So anyway, having said that, beginning with new business, we have Stephanie and Susie here to talk about the Miller Swim Club and the pool usage. Ladies?
Make sure the microphone is
Yes.
on, please.
Should be a bright green
There's
light.
a green light, so I think we're good.
Bright green?
And Edward is here as a member of the swim club also.
There you go.
Hi, Edward.
Edward, don't want to leave you out.
So I'm Susie Keck. I'm this year's president of the swim board, Miller Swim Club Board. And we are here to ask again, as we do every year, for use of the pool for our practices, with the fee waived for that, and then also assistance with a lifeguard if needed. We don't know how many kids are going to sign up yet, but I know that the council has graciously given us a lifeguard to use in the past also.
When, for those of you who may not be aware of it, when are the times that you utilize the pool?
So in the past, the older kids have practice, I believe it's 7:30? 7:30 to about 9:15, and then the younger group comes in from 9:15 until about 11.
Is that every day?
10? Okay.
Yes,
Every
Monday
day?
through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
Okay,
Sometimes it's a group session on the Fridays when they do little swimmer, big swimmer, but
okay.
AM,
Just clarification.
sorry.
And one
We're early morning swimmers.
I make a motion, we let the Miller Swim Club use the pool, free of charge with coordination with Sydney.
Second.
Sydney, right?
And a lifeguard if
Sydney.
necessary.
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the table with regard to letting the Miller Swim Club utilize the swimming pool and assistance with the lifeguards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
We have one other thing to ask about. We are planning a fundraiser for the swim club in July, and we are hoping to get a little community involvement as kind of a community event. It'll be a triathlon, but you do it on your own time, so not
Okay.
It's called a lazy man.
a lazy man Ironman. There,
Yeah.
Ironman. There you go. So, Stephanie can give you the details of that. What we are asking the council for that is most of the participants will probably already have a season pass, which would allow them to do the lap swim portion of it to record their swimming time without a fee because the lap swim is included in that membership. We are wondering if there's people that sign up for the Ironman that do not have a season pass, if we would be allowed to maybe let them do the lap swim portion during the regular lap swim times that are designated without a fee, or if there's however we could do that so that people could participate even if they don't have a swim season pass.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the first statement that you made. This is a fundraiser for you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it would be a fundraiser for the swim team. It helps us pay the salaries of the swim coaches and fees to get into the meets and that kind of thing.
I should have
And
said-
Stephanie she can tell you more about what the fundraiser will be.
Okay, so it's called a Lazy Man Ironman. So it's a big triathlon where they have 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles of biking, and 26.2 miles of running. And they will have July 1st to July 31st to complete this task. So we're hoping to get a lot of community involvement because it's good for the community, health-wise as well. At the end of it, we'll have a picnic, we'll hand out t-shirts, but we're gonna have them pay a fee to start it, to do this, and it's on their own. So that's kind of what we're doing, but there's lap swimming from 6 a.m. to 7 and 6 to 7, I believe, at the pool right now. So there's only a little time frame for those people to lap swim. So we were just hoping to maybe waive that fee because they are paying us to participate.
I make a motion that we let them use lap swim times for their fundraiser, and participants, there's a record of participants, are not expected to pay extra.
I'll second.
Discussion. I'll have one. How do we know, will you give us a list of those individuals?
Yeah. So they'll check in at the pool and
That-
we'll have
check
to
in.
sign up with Cindy
Okay.
and stuff, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
Aubrey DeHai is gonna be our swim coach again this year. So
Okay.
just letting you guys know that she'd be back.
Right.
Could be our coach, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, a motion on the table and a second to allow the swim club to use the pool for the swim portion of their triathlon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, and
Thank
Edward.
you.
You start practice May 20th.
There you go. All right. At the beginning of calling the meeting to order, in approving the agenda, item number 2 and item with regard to the Colonial Life with Cheese Melnick, and item number 4 with the state surplus dump truck have been struck from the agenda, so we won't be talking about that. Next thing on new business is the Welcome to Miller sign. And I just, somebody, you can, I guess it was a situation that I really wasn't aware of. Just make us, for those who don't know, make us aware of it, and then we can proceed with the situation.
So I guess I had asked the question of who is responsible for them, because the one out by the airport has basically, all of the landscaping has fell down. The one out by the, out by Dairy Queen, that's not a Miller sign, but it's the same. It came from On Hand Development, and so I just was looking to see if we were responsible for that. I guess I thought Tara would be here tonight, but,
We supply the electrical to those signs, correct?
yes, so when they come, like, before they were gonna do, they always ask me, cause they're gonna put one out by, Super 8. They asked me if I donate the lights and the electrical. So anyways, we do that part of it. As far as the rest of it, I didn't know whose responsibility it was, but it needs fixed, so.
And so really, it's not more, the material is there, it's more, other than maybe some rock here and there, but it's more just the
Rock, yeah,
manpower.
dirt,
Upkeep.
whatever.
Upkeep.
Yep.
I'm just afraid that if we don't maintain it, it'll just continue to happen where it is
Yep.
falling apart and stuff like that. I don't know everybody else's opinion, but
Yeah, I think the original deal was, is I didn't know if there was anybody from On Hand that part, and then if we wanted to help, if we all wanted to get together and just put it back together.
On Hand built it, or paid for it, I think Orville put all the landscaping around it.
Maybe we should talk to Tara and see what her thoughts are on it.
She didn't really know, that's why, yeah. She did,
Let's see if we can have a collaboration, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
so,
Either way, I think we gotta get it fixed.
Yeah, it's gotta
Yeah.
get cleaned up.
Don't know the
so if you
maps.
guys are alright, I mean, we'll work on it, or hopefully I can get with the other departments and we can
Okay.
work on it.
I would say, yeah.
And I'll try to reach out to her, see if she's got any other help that she wants to provide, but,
I would say until further notice of anybody else that wants to help with maintenance, let's just plan on maintaining the areas around those signs, please.
sounds good to me. I just wanted to make sure
But
that,
that is just my personal opinion.
Well,
I would
do
agree. Do we vote on
We
that?
want to
or-
make,
I make a motion that we do the maintenance and keep the upkeep of the landscaping around the sign to the city of Miller.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to upkeep the Miller sign and the landscaping around it. Any discussion?
So the reason I kind of a gray area, cause I know that BJ replaced all the lights and stuff in that other
That's
one.
why I just said landscaping there around the
Yeah,
sign.
yep, so that's just so you're aware of why I didn't know, you know. So,
Just
yeah.
keep them looking nice.
Yep, we supply power, but actually they went through and
What-
did that retrofit and everything, so.
And to be, maintain, just more or less, inform him that, just drop him a note that we're gonna be doing that, so, I mean, would that be okay too? So, just to,
And I don't know if Ron sprays them right now, I don't know, I mean, they don't seem to grow any weeds, so I
I
guess,
don't know nothing about them.
yeah, I don't
I
either,
know
so.
that he said that they painted them at Mid-Dakota when they first brought them to town.
Okay.
okay, all right,
I know Orville put the bricks around it. Other than that, I don't know nothing.
Sure.
okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 6 is resolution number 224-3, drinking water facilities improvement funding, and that's found on pages 3 to 10.
Do we need to do item number, oh, never mind.
5.
Five.
He just said 6,
Okay,
but it's
sorry.
5.
Yeah.
Oh,
Item number
I'm sorry,
5.
item number 5. that's
And Ryan,
incorrect. Thank you for that.
do we need to do 4 or are we waiting?
No, that's
Nice
dropped.
scratch
That,
that
we
one.
dropped that.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah,
sorry.
all right. Reading for resolution number 2024-3. This resolution states, "This resolution giving approval to certain drinking water facilities improvements, giving approval to the issuance of the sale of a revenue bond to finance directly or indirectly the improvements to the facility, approving the form of the loan agreement and the revenue bond, and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure their payment of the revenue bond, and certifying special funds and accounts for the administration of the funds for the operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bond, and providing for the segregated special charge or surcharge for that payment of the bond." And the resolution reads, "Whereas one of the proposes of South Dakota, or SDCL, Chapter 9 through 20, the Act, as found and determined by the legislature, is to provide for financing the acquisition, maintenance, operation, extension, or improvement of any system or part of any system of waterworks for the purpose of providing water and water supplies for domestic, municipal, together with extensions, additions, and necessary apparatuses. And whereas the municipality is authorized by Section 6 of the Act to issue revenue bonds to defray the cost of extension, additions, and improvements to any utility previously owned without pledging its credit, and is authorized to pledge the net income and revenues for the project in accordance to the Section 15 of the Act. And whereas the City of Miller, the city, currently operates a water distribution system to supply municipal, industrial, and domestic water to its inhabitants, and has determined that improvements to the drinking water facilities are necessary for the conduct of its governmental programs, and qualifies as an improvement, extension, or addition to its drinking water system. And whereas the City of Miller has determined to issue its revenue bonds to finance the improvements of its system of waterworks for the purpose of providing water and water supplies for domestic, municipal, and industrial purposes, the system, and has applied for the South Dakota Conservancy District, the District for Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan to finance the improvements. Whereas the city shall adopt special rates or surcharges for the improvements to be pledged, segregated, and used for the payment of the bonds. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Miller as follows. Section 1, definitions. The terms when used in the resolution shall have the following meanings set forth in this section unless the context clearly requires otherwise. All terms used in this resolution, which are not defined herein, shall have the meaning assigned to them in the loan agreement unless the context clearly otherwise requires. Act means South Dakota Codified Laws, Chapter 9 through 40. Loan means the loan made by the South Dakota Conservancy District to the city pursuant to the terms of the loan agreement and as evidenced by the revenue bond. Project means the City of Miller Phase 4 water project. Revenue bond means the revenue bond or bonds issued the date of the loan agreement by the city to the South Dakota Conservancy District to evidence the city's obligation to repay the principal of a pay interest and administration expenses surcharge on the loan. The term system means the city's system of waterworks used for the purpose of providing water and water supply for domestic, municipal, and industrial purposes. Section 2, declaration of necessity and finding. In Section 2, Clause 1, definition of necessity. The city hereby declares and determines it is necessary to construct and finance improvements to its drinking water facilities within its system described as the project. Section 2.2, findings. The city does hereby find as follows. Section 2.2.1, the city hereby expressly finds that if the project is not undertaken, the system will pose a health hazard to the city and its inhabitants, and will make the city unable to comply with state and federal law. 2.2.2, because of the financial interdependence of various portions of the system, the fact that the system may not lawfully operate unless it complies with state and federal law, including SDCL Chapter 34A to 3A, and the Federal Safety Drinking Water Act, and the nature of the improvements financed, the city hereby finds and determines that the project will substantially benefit the entire system and all of its users within the meaning of Section 15 and 17 and the Act. 2.2.3, the city hereby determines and finds that for the purpose of the Act, including in particular Sections 15 and 17 of the Act, that only the net income from the project financed by the revenue bonds be pledged for its payment. Section 3, authorization of the loan pledged in revenues and security. 3.1, authorization of the loan. The city hereby determines and declares it necessary to finance up to $1,460,755 of the cost of the project through the issuance of bonds payable from the revenue of the project and other funds secured by the city. The city hereby determines that because the revenue bond is issued in connection with a financing agreement described in SDCL 46A-1 to 49 pursuant to Section 15 of the Act, no election is required to issue a revenue bond. 3.2, approval of loan agreement. The execution and delivery of the revenue obligation loan agreement, the form of which is on file with the city finance office, and that's the finance office, and open to the public inspection between the city as the borrower, and the district is hereby in all respect authorized, approved, and confirmed, and the mayor and finance officer are hereby authorized to direct, to execute, and deliver the loan agreement in the form of content attached hereto, with such changes as the attorney of the city deems appropriate and approves for and on behalf of the city. The mayor and finance officer are hereby further authorized to and directed to implement and to perform the covenants and obligations of the city set forth in or required by the loan agreement. The loan agreement herein referred to and made a part of this resolution is on file in the Office of the Finance Officer and is available for inspection by any interested party. 3.3, approval of revenue bond. The issuance of a revenue bond in a principal amount not to exceed $1,460,755 as determined according to the loan agreement in the form of and content set forth in Appendix B attached to the form of the loan agreement, which is the revenue bond, shall be and the same is in all respects hereby authorized, approved, and confirmed by the mayor, finance officer, and other appropriate officials shall be and are hereby authorized to direct and to execute and seal the revenue bond and deliver the revenue bond to the district for and on behalf of the city upon receipt of the purchase price and to use the proceeds thereto in a manner set forth in the loan agreement. The mayor and finance officer are hereby authorized to approve the final terms of the revenue bond, and their execution and delivery thereof shall be evidence of that approval. The revenue bond shall be issued under the authority of SDCL Chapter 9 through 40 and SDCL Chapter 6 through 8B, and the provisions of the Act are hereby expressly incorporated herein as provided in Section 9 of the Act. 3.4, pledge of revenues. The revenue bond, together with the interest thereon, shall not constitute a change or charge against the city general credit or taxing power, but shall be a limited obligation of the city payable solely out of the project debt service amount, which payments, revenues, and receipts are hereby and in the loan agreement pledged and assigned for the equal and reputable payment of the revenue bond, and shall be used for no other purpose than to pay the principal, interest, and administrative surcharges on the revenue bond, except as may be otherwise expressly authorized in the loan agreement, including the purpose of securing additional bonds issued as permitted by the term thereof. The city covenants and agrees to charge rates for all services for the project or establish special charges and surcharges which will be sufficient to provide for the payments upon the revenue bond issued hereunder as and when the same becomes due, and as may be necessary to provide for the operation and maintenance and repairs of the project, and depreciation and the rate resolution shall be revised from time to time so as to produce these amounts. The city hereby resolves the right to determine on the periodic basis the appropriate allocation of operation and maintenance expenses, depreciation, repair, and reserves associated with the facilities financed with the revenue bond, provided that such determinations of
Allocable.
very good. Operation and maintenance expenses shall in no event abrogate or abridge or otherwise contravene the covenant of the city set forth in the Section 3 or any other covenant or agreement in the loan agreement. Section 4 deals with special charges or surcharges for revenue bond. The city does hereby create the revenue bond special surcharge district, the surcharge district, which shall include all users which benefit from the project. There shall be charged a special charge and surcharge pursuant to Section 15 of the Act for the services provided by the project financed by the revenue bond. The special charge or surcharge shall be segregated from other revenues of the system and shall be used for the payment of the revenue bond. The special charge or surcharge shall create net income remaining from time to time after the first payment, all reasonable and current expenses of maintenance, repairs, replacements, and operations sufficient to fund interest, reserve, and debt service funds, annual requirements, and shall be 110% of the debt services requirements on the revenue bond. 4.1, rate and collection. The rate herein specific will be collected as a special charge or surcharge for the project. The special charge or surcharge shall remain in effect until such time as the revenue bond is defeased or paid in full. 4.2, initial surcharge. The initial special charge or surcharge shall be set by the resolution and collected at the same time as other charges of the utility. All users herein this surcharge district which benefit from the project, current and future, shall be charged a special rate or surcharge. The special surcharge or surcharge is found to be equitable for the service provided by the project. The special charge or surcharge shall begin at such time as will produce sufficient revenue to pay principal, interest, and administrative surcharge on the revenue bond when due. 4.3, segregation. The finance officer shall set up bookkeeping accounts in accordance with the South Dakota Legislative Audit Guidelines for the segregation of the revenue special charges or surcharges. 4.4, periodic review. The amount of the surcharge shall be reviewed from time to time, not less than yearly, and shall be modified in order to produce such funds as are necessary and required to comply with the loan agreements, rate covenant, and to pay principal of interest and administrative service surcharges on the revenue bond when due. The surcharge may be set by resolution in accordance with this section. The rate resolution shall be necessary for the support of the government and shall be effective upon passage. Section 5, additional bonds. As permitted by sections 8 and 9 of the Act, additional bonds payable for the revenues and income of the system or project may be issued as permitted in the loan agreement, and no provision of this resolution shall have the effect or restricting the issuance of or impairment of impairing the lien of such additional parity bonds with the respect of the net revenues or income from the extensions, additions, or improvements. The city shall have the right to issue additional bonds secured by a lien subordinate to the lien from the revenue bond pursuant to the loan agreement. Section 6, project fund accounts. For the purpose of the application and proper allocation of the income of the project and to secure the payment of the principal, administrative surcharges, and interest on the revenue bond, the following mandatory asset segregations shall be included in the water system account of the city and shall be used solely for the following respective purpose until payment in full of the principal, interest, and administrative surcharge and revenue bond. 6.1, project revenue account. There shall be deposited periodically into the project revenue account the net revenues as defined in Section 17 of the Act derived from the operations of the project collected pursuant to the resolution and ordinance of the City of Miller, South Dakota, collectively the rate resolution. Monies from the project revenue account shall be transferred periodically into the separate funds and accounts as provided below. 6.2, project debt service account. Out of the revenues of the project revenue account, there shall be set aside no later than the 25th day of each month into the account designated project debt service account, a sum sufficient to provide for the payment as the same become due of the next maturing principal of interest and administrative surcharges on the revenue bond and any reserves determined by the city's governing body to be necessary. The amount set aside monthly shall be not less than 1/3 of the total principal, interest, and administrative surcharge payable to the following February 15th May 15th, August 15th, or November 15th. And if there shall be any deficiency in the amount previously set aside, then the amount of such deficiency shall be added to the current requirement. 6.3, depreciation account. There shall be established a general depreciation account. Out of the revenues of the project revenue account, there shall be set aside each month into the general depreciation account an amount determined by the common council to be a proper and adequate amount for the repairs and depreciation of the project. 6.4, project surplus account. There shall be established the project surplus account. Revenues remaining in the project revenue account at the end of any fiscal year after all periodic transfers have been made therefrom as above required shall be deemed to be surplus and shall be transferred to the project surplus account. If at any time there shall exist any default in making any periodic transfer to the project debt service account, the common council shall authorize the city finance officer to rectify such defaults so far as possible by the transfer of money from the project surplus account. If any such default shall exist as to more than one account or fund at any time, then such transfer shall be made in the order such funds and accounts are listed above. When not required to restore an account deficiency in the project debt service accounts, monies in the project service account from time to time may be used for any of the following purposes or not otherwise. A, to redeem and repay the revenue bond when and as such revenue bond becomes payable according to its term. B, to pay for repairs of and for the construction and installation of improvements or additions to the system. And if the balances of the project debt services account and the project depreciation account are sufficient to meet all payments required or reasonably anticipated to be made there from prior to the end of the then current fiscal year. Then C, to be held as a reserve for redemption and payment of any bonds of the system which are not then but will later be prepayable according to their terms. Or D, to be used for any other authorized municipal purpose designated by the common council. And E, no money shall at any time be transferred from the project surplus account or any other account of the fund to any other fund of the city, nor shall monies at any time be loaned to other municipal funds or invested in warrants, special improvement bonds, or other obligations payable from other funds except as provided in this section. Section 7, approval of paying agent, registrar. The revenue bond shall be payable at the office of the U.S. Bank, National Association, St. Paul, Minneapolis, hereby is designated as a paying agent and registrar. Section 8, approval of bond counsel. Meyer Henry Sargent LLP is hereby retained as the bond counsel with respect to the revenue bond. Section 9, tax matters. The interest on the revenue bond shall be excludable from gross income for federal income tax purposes under the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 and the code, the applicable Treasury of regulations or the regulation. Section 10, covenants. The city hereby covenants and agrees with the district and other owners of the revenue bonds as follows. 10.1, the city will punctually perform all duties with reference to the project, the system, and the revenue bond required by the Constitution and the laws of the state of South Dakota and by this resolution. 10.2, the city agrees and covenants that it will promptly construct the improvement included in the project. 10.3, the city covenants and agrees that pursuant to section 25 through 27 of the act, the lawful holders of the revenue bond shall have statutory mortgage lien upon the project and the extensions, addition, and improvements thereto required pursuant to the act until the payment is in full of the principal, interest, and administrative surcharge of the revenue bond, and the city agrees not to sell or otherwise dispose of the system, the project, or any substantial part thereof, except as provided in the loan agreement, and shall not establish, authorize, or grant a franchise for the operation for any other utility supplying products or services in the competition therewith, or permit any person, firm, or corporation to compete with it in the distribution of water for the municipal, industrial, or domestic purposes within the city. 10.4, the city covenants and agrees with the district and other owners of the revenue bond that it will maintain the system in good condition and operate the same in an efficient manner and at a reasonable cost so long as any portion of the revenue bond remains outstanding, that it will maintain insurance on the system for the benefit of the holders of the revenue bond in an amount which usually would be carried by the private companies in a similar type of business that it will prepare, keep, and file record statements and accounts as provided for in this resolution and the loan agreement. The revenue bond shall refer expressly to the resolution and the act, and shall state that it is a subject to all provisions and limitations thereof pursuant of Section 9 of the Act. Section 11, depositories. The finance office shall cause all money pertaining to the funds and accounts to be deposited as received with one or more banks which are duly qualified public depositors under the provision of SDCL Chapter 4-6A. In a deposit account or accounts which shall be maintained separate and apart from all other accounts of the city, so long as any of the bonds and interest thereon shall remain unpaid. Any of such monies not necessary for immediate use may be deposited with such depository banks in savings or time deposits. No money shall at any time be withdrawn from such deposit accounts except for the purpose of the funds and accounts as authorized in this resolution, except that the money from time to time on hand in the funds and accounts may at any time, in the discretion of the city's governing body, be invested in securities permitted by the provisions of SDCL 4-5-6. Provided, however, that the depreciation fund may be invested in such securities maturing not later than 10 years from the date of the investment. Income received from the deposit or investments of the money shall be credited to the fund and or account from whose money the deposit was made or the investment was purchased, and handled and accounted for in the same manner as other monies therein. Section 12, consent to appointment. In the event of mismanagement of the project, a default in the payment of the principal or interest of the revenue bond or any other condition thereof materially affected by the lawful holder of the revenue bond, or if the revenues of the project are dissipated, wasted, or diverted from their proper application as set forth in the loan agreement revenue bond, or herein, the city hereby consents to the appointment of a receiver pursuant to Section 33 of the Act, and agree that the receiver will have the power set forth therein and in Section 34 and 35 of the Acts to operate and administer the project, and charge and collect rates as described therein. Section 13, severability. If any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this resolution, the loan agreement, the reserve bank, or any other loan document shall be held invalid, the invalidity of such section, paragraph, clause, or provision shall not affect any of the other provisions of this resolution or loan agreement, reserve bond, or any other loan document. Section 4, repeal of the resolution. At such time as the project revenue bond is defeased or paid in full, this resolution and the special charge or surcharge shall automatically be repealed without any further action of the city. Section 15, authorization of the city officials. The mayor, the finance officer, the city attorney, and city officials shall be and there are hereby authorized to execute and deliver for and on behalf of the city any and all other certificates, documents, or other papers, and to perform such other acts as they may deem necessary or appropriate in order to implement and carry out the actions authorized herein. Section 16, effective date. This resolution will take effect on the 20th day following its publication unless specified by a referendum. Adopted at Millers, South Dakota, this 15th day of April 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I missed something on page 2 or 3. Could you read that again?
If you want me to read the next one, I will.
Well, yeah, one page.
No, I
Yeah.
mean the next
Okay, I appreciate
resolution.
that. Okay,
Seriously, I would move approval of resolution number 2024-3.
Second?
second. Okay, I
I'll
have a
second.
motion and a second to approve resolution number 2024-3. Discussion. Hearing none, the motion on the table and second is to approve the said resolution. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, or no? Motion carries. Okay. Want to do 24?
We gotta do do we gotta do page 11
We do page, I can do page 11.
for surcharge? Okay, if you wanna do that, I'll do the next set.
My bifocals might jump all over the place on this one, so. Resolution, next on the agenda is Resolution 2024-4. Resolution amending the city's rate surcharge, providing for a surcharge for the improvement to the wastewater system for payment of a revenue why am I having trouble? Bond and yearly revenue review of rate. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Miller as follows. Surcharge for borrower bond. There shall be a charge of a monthly surcharge for the service provided by the improvements financed by the DW-05 Conservancy District loan. The surcharge for each loan shall be segregated from other revenues of the city and shall be used for the payment of the borrowed bond DW-05, the borrower bond, provided that such surcharge shall create net income remaining from time to time after first paying all reasonable and current expenses of maintenance, repairs, replacement, and operation sufficient to fund interest, reserve, and debt services, service fund annual requirements. 2, rates and collection. The city does hereby establish a special charge or surcharge payable by each customer of its system who receives or benefits from the services of the project financed with the borrower bond. Such charge or surcharges shall be set at a level which, assuming a 10% delinquent rate, will produce income at the times and in the amount sufficient to pay when due the principal of and interest of the borrower bond and the administrative expense surcharge and all other payments as may be required under the loan agreement of the borrowed bond. 3, borrow bond surcharge. The following drinking water debt service surcharge shall be applicable to all customers served. Borrower bond DW-05, surcharge is $7.15 per month, per user per month. This surcharge shall remain in effect until such time as the revenue bond is paid in full. The initial surcharge shall be collected at the time as other surcharges of the system. The surcharge is found to be equitable for the services provided by the improvements. 4, segregation. The debt service surcharge shall be segregated from other income of the system in a separate bookkeeping account and is pledged to the South Dakota Conservancy District for the payment of the loan payments of the borrow bond. 5, yearly review. The amount of the surcharge shall be reviewed from year to year and may be modified in order to provide such funds as are set forth herein. The charge shall be reviewed yearly by the city and administratively adjusted upward or downwards to such amounts as may be necessary to pay principal, interest, administrative surcharge, and other charges as may become due and owing under the loan agreement of the borrower bond. Billing and accounting. The surcharges shall be included in the monthly user bill. Nothing containing herein requires the surcharge be indicated on the billing. However, surcharges segregation shall be indicated on the books of the city. Automatic repeal. The surcharge of the borrow bond shall be automatically repealed when the borrow bond is paid in full. Periodic
Partial invalidity.
Yeah, thank you.
Invalidity.
Yeah, partial. If any one or more of the provisions of the shall be held invalid, illegal, or unenforceable in any respect by final decree of any court of law, lawful justification, jurisdiction, such invalidity, illegality, and unenforceability shall not affect any other provision thereof.
There you go.
Having said that, that is resolution number 2024-4.
I move to approve resolution number 2024-4.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, motion and a second on the table to approve resolution number 2024-4. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Nay.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm, in about 5 or 10 minutes, I need to excuse myself to go to the fire department meeting for a few minutes, and then I'll be back.
Okay, thank you.
So if you see me leave, that's what's
All
going
right,
on.
thank you. So we have 5 in the affirmative, 1 in opposition. Okay, motion passes. Okay, now, I am going to move on to resolution 2024. Okay, now, without objection, okay, everything is the same in resolution 2024-3 after 3.4. So without objection, I would just have from the beginning of the resolution to page 14 at 3.4, whereas the pledge of revenues be read. Without objection?
No
Okay,
objection.
I'm gonna turn it over to you, so we're gonna read pages 13, or 12, 13, and about a little over half of 14.
Got it. Resolution number 2024-5. Resolution giving approval to certain sewer facilities improvements. Giving approval to the issuance and sale of a revenue bond to finance, directly or indirectly, the improvements to the facilities. Approving the form of the loan agreement and the revenue bond and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure the payment of the revenue bond. and creating special funds and accounts for the administration of funds for operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bond, and providing for a segregated special charge or surcharge for the payment of the bonds. Whereas, one of the purposes of SDCL Chapter 9 through 40, the Act, as found and determined by the legislature, is to provide for financing the acquisition, maintenance, operation, extension, or improvement of any system or part of any system for the collection, treatment, and disposal of sewage and other domestic, commercial, and industrial wastes, or any system for the control of floods and drainage, or any combination thereof, together with extensions, additions, and necessary appurtenances. And whereas a municipality is authorized by Section 6 of the Act to issue revenue bonds to defray the cost of extensions, additions, and improvements to any utility previously owned without pledging its credit, and is authorized to pledge the net income or revenues from the project in accordance with Section 15 of the Act. And whereas the City of Miller, the city, currently operates a sewer system for the collection, treatment, and disposal of sewage and other domestic, commercial, and industrial wastes, and for the control of floods and drainage, and has determined the improvements to the sewer facilities are necessary for the conduct of its governmental programs and qualifies as an improvement, extension, or addition to its sewer system. And whereas the city has determined to issue its revenue bonds to finance the improvements to its sewer system for the purpose of collecting, treating, and disposing of sewage and other domestic, commercial, and industrial wastes, the system, and has applied to the South Dakota Conservancy District, the district, for a clean water state revolving fund loan to finance the improvements. Whereas the city shall adopt special rates or surcharges for the improvements to be pledged, segregated, and used for the payment of the bonds. Now therefore be it resolved by the city as follows. Section 1, definitions. The term when used in this resolution shall have the following meaning set forth in this section unless the context clearly requires otherwise. All terms used in this resolution which are not defined herein shall have the meanings assigned to them in the loan agreement unless the context clearly otherwise requires. Act means South Dakota Codified Laws, Chapter 9 through 40. Loan means the loan made by the South Dakota Conservancy District to the city pursuant to the terms of the loan agreement and as evidenced by the revenue bond. Project means the City of Miller Phase 4 wastewater project. Revenue bond means the revenue bond or bonds issued the date of the loan agreement by the city to the South Dakota Conservancy District to evidence the city's obligation to repay the principal of and pay interest and administrative expense surcharge on the loan. System means the city's system of collecting, treating, and disposing of sewage and other domestic, commercial, and industrial wastes. Section 2, declaration of necessity and findings. 2.1.1, declaration of necessity. The city hereby determines and declares it is necessary to construct and finance improvements to its system described as the project. 2.2, findings. The city does hereby find as follows. 2.2.1, the city hereby expressly finds that if the project is not undertaken, the system will pose a health hazard to the city and its inhabitants and will make the city unable to comply with state and federal law. 2.2.2, because of the functional interdependence of the various portions of the system, the fact that the system may not lawfully operate unless it complies with the statute and state and federal laws, including SDCL Chapter 34A-2 and the Federal Clean Water Act, and the nature of the improvements financed, the city hereby finds and determines that the project will substantially benefit the entire system and all of its users within the meaning of Sections 15 and 17 of the Act. 2.2.3, the city hereby determines and finds that for the purpose of the Act, including in particular Sections 15 and 17 of the Act, only the net income from the project financed by the revenue bond will be pledged for its payment. Section 3, authorization of loan, pledge of revenue, and security. 3.1, authorization of loan. The city hereby determines and declares it necessary to finance up to $683,579 of the cost of the project through the issuance of bonds payable from the revenue of the project and other funds secured by the city. The city hereby determines that because the Revenue Board is issued in connection with a financing agreement described in SDCL 46A-1 through 49, pursuant to Section 15 of the Act, No election is required to issue the revenue bond. 3.2, approval of loan agreement. The execution and delivery of the revenue obligation loan agreement, the form of which is on file with the finance officer, and open to public inspection between the city as borrower and the district, is hereby in all respects authorized, approved, and confirmed, and the mayor and finance officer are hereby authorized and directed to execute and deliver the loan agreement in the form and content attached hereto, with such changes as the attorney for the city deems appropriate and approves for and on behalf of the city. The mayor and finance officer are hereby further authorized and directed to implement and perform the covenants and obligations of the city set forth in or required by the loan agreement. The loan agreement herein referred to and made a part of this resolution is on file in the office of the finance officer and is available for inspection by any interested party. 3.3, approval of revenue bond. The issuance of a revenue bond in a principal amount not to exceed $683,579 as determined according to the loan agreement in the form and content set forth in Appendix B attached to the form of loan agreement, the revenue bond, shall be and the same is, in all respects, hereby authorized, approved, and confirmed by the mayor, finance officer, and other appropriate officials shall be and are hereby authorized and directed to execute and seal the revenue bond and deliver the revenue bond to the district for and on behalf of the city upon receipt of the purchase price, and to use the proceeds therefore in the manner set forth in the loan agreement. The mayor and finance officer are hereby authorized to approve the final terms of the revenue bond, and their execution and delivery thereof shall evidence that approval. The revenue bond shall be issued under the authority of South Dakota Codified Law, Chapter 9 through 40, and SDCL Chapter 6 through 8B, and the provisions of the Act are hereby expressed incorporated herein as provided in Section 19 of the Act. 3.4.
I think that's where you can stop.
You don't need me to do the last one?
No.
Okay.
of it is all the exact.
The rest of it's the same as the previous one.
That's why with your council approval, we suspended, or we just didn't read the
Perfect.
rest of them.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much for that.
Do you want me to read this surcharge one too? and
Well,
get to that,
that's,
or-
yeah, yes, and I'll have you stop at a certain time there too. Okay, with that, the resolution 2024-5.
Make a motion, we approve 2024-5.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion has it. Okay, with regard to resolution 2024-6, we can go down to the beginning of number 4. And
Okay.
the rest of them are is the same as the,
Actually, number 3, because that's where it has the surcharge number.
yes, there you go. There you
Okay,
go. Yes.
so ready?
You're ready.
So I'll read the top highlighted part and then I'll go down to 3.
Okay,
Resolution number 2024-6. Resolution amending the city's rate structure, providing for a surcharge for improvements to the sewer system for payment of a revenue borrower bond and yearly review of rate. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Miller as follows. 1 and 2 are the same, so we'll go to number 3. Borrower bond surcharge. The following clean water debt service surcharge shall be applicable to all customers served. Borrower bond CW-05 surcharge, $3.70 per user per month. This surcharge shall remain in effect until such time as the revenue bond is paid in full. The initial surcharge shall be collected at the same time as other charges of the system. The surcharge is found to be equitable for the services provided by the improvements. 4, that should be it, right?
that should be it.
The rest should be the same.
Should be the same. Okay. And again, thank you for that.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is that? What part of that is the $3.70? I thought we had one that was $7 and we were waiting to hear on the funding for the other one that was about $7 for a total of 14. What part of that is this $3.70?
So when Ted was here, he was just talking about the water portion for that public hearing. I don't believe he was talking about the wastewater, because we weren't applying for both a grant and a cert and a loan. The wastewater is gonna be purely loan if we move forward on that.
So this is the clean water.
Yeah.
Yes, this is wastewater, clean water, yep.
And I think he was referring to it, the worst-case scenario, that it would be that, but, you know, and I agree with you, because everything I shouldn't say everything, with regard to the information that we've received up until, you know, Ted's presentation, we were looking at that, if I'm not mistaken, that $3.70 for the sewer part of this project. Am I wrong on that? I mean, was that, or am I missing something?
Evidently, I was missing something. I thought we were talking about the best case scenario was $7, worst case scenario was $14.
But now there will be another 371, no matter what the,
There'll be a 370 on the wastewater. Ted was just talking about water, drinking
so
water.
surcharges in general could be up to
Up to 18
17,
bucks.
18 bucks. Wow.
$18 coming from the 14 and the 3, is that what you're thinking?
14 and the 370. Right.
Six,
600 and,
$683,579.
And we're applying to borrow up to that amount. They have reduced the cost of the project for the wastewater side of it.
Wastewater's up there by the school.
Right.
So you've eliminated that?
No, it's been reduced.
It's been reduced.
Originally, it was over 1.2, 1.3, and that's what we decided on not doing the deep part to alleviate half of that project cost. So there's also that, them houses as well was still included in that had the shallow sewer. So it's not just the development, it's also those houses as well on that Donlin Street. And I'd remind everybody that according to our codes, we have no choice but to supply that development with utilities, the way our codes
Is there a
read.
date that development has to be opened?
Yes, with
for?
their grant, they have to have dirt turned by a certain time. Which is like, they're looking to an extension, because otherwise that date would have already been here. Or really close to here. So if we don't do this, then we're required to figure out where the money's gonna come from to supply them, the way our codes read. We have to supply them. And yes, there's that Donlin Street part of it as well, that is not talking about the development, that also would be getting improvements. Am I correct? With those. So whether we like it or not, we have to supply that development with utilities, the way our codes read. It's just where we're getting the funding to do it from.
What was the interest on this? Do we know?
This one was less, it was it even 2%?
Those are the,
I don't have, and it was, this one was, you mind?
Well, I was just curious.
Well, I think, being you asked that question, I think, you know,
we should get an answer.
it should be answered. So,
we've come this far reading everything, might as
Yeah.
well get all the other rest of the
Yeah,
information.
and we want that information out there too, so.
Okay.
I just had a small fraction of the reading you did.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
a lot of practice lecturing.
We either
so-
gotta-
so.
Do it and pay the surcharge, or we gotta pay it out of pocket. I mean, we don't have much choice whether or not we are gonna do it. We have to do it, so.
Yeah.
Well, and if it's a real low interest, I mean, it's pretty hard to get that sometimes.
Well, and it is, and that's the concerning things. Yeah, I know we're paying them, but I think we are in a position that a greater percentage of the communities in our state are not in. I mean, we have all but this phase of the project completing.
And that portion of the project, I feel as though that we could do really good about eliminating that loan in a very short period of time. Not immediately with one lump sum, but I feel as though that we could definitely not stretch that one out through the whole period and pay that many years of interest.
And I think that's what and not to give a specific time, but that, I'll reiterate, that has been discussed and looked at. As a city, we have to maintain a particular reserve on hand. That's mandated by law. But what we can do is we can do what's possible to help expedite the payoff of these loans. I think I was mentioning this yesterday, and then after looking at some of the pictures that Terry has, and I would encourage some individuals to come in and look at that. If we had a visible structure that was as much disarray that we saw on a daily basis as things that we don't see that are underground, you know, I think it would be easier to understand the importance of moving forward. Go ahead, Cindy.
So the wastewater loan, drinking water, or Clean Water 05, is on a 2.125% interest for 30 years.
Okay.
And the water is 1.875% for 30 years.
Yeah, that's very low interest.
But then we don't have the interest for this wastewater, or did you just say the wastewater?
That is wastewater.
Okay,
That was already,
that was in that sheet that we, okay.
these went to the state over a year ago. We're just finally getting around to getting these resolutions done. So we can close that loan and move forward. Because we can't get any funding from them, the package that they awarded, we can't get any funding from them until these are approved, published, sent to our bond counsel, Meyer Henry Sargent.
Okay.
Then they send that over to or we also send a copy to the state. And at that point, we can start requesting funds,
Okay.
which we have been paying engineering fees on this Phase 4 project for a while. And we haven't gotten reimbursed for any of that yet.
Oh, my.
And it's all project eligible.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve resolution number 2024-6 sewer surcharge.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I would like to see the city pay either a chunk of this or a lump sum towards one of our other loans. Be it phase 1, 2, 3, water tower, whatever. I would like to see the city,
Would you be opposed to addressing that at budget time when we start budget season in July, when we start budgeting for 2025? To look at that and see
Some of
where
that
we
is-
can do that at?
yes, but some of that is also somewhat conditional on how supportive I am of these and adding surcharges, whether or not
Yeah.
we're going to do that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm saying it now.
And that's important, but the, and I'm assuming the other surcharges are the same. The surcharges doesn't go away until the entire loan is paid off.
Correct?
Right?
Yep.
I think the only loan that would be possible to pay off would be the water tower, correct?
And
Or,
And this one would be another one that would be.
this would be another one, yeah.
or the,
Or,
or the other part of the funding for, that we don't have the funding set up for yet.
That additional 1.1?
Yes. I mean,
Yes.
We could pay a chunk on that and substantially reduce what that surcharge would be as well, correct?
Just gotta find the money and see how we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yes, let's look at that.
and that's something that I know I've been looking into and trying to work it out. So if there's a means possible, I shouldn't say myself, but I think when, you know, Shayla, now I know with Cindy the same, when we can, when that could be possible.
When we have at the end of the year collecting the surcharges, do we ever have excess amount of money in there when we pay our payment on that loan?
So you're talking about when we receive the money, when people pay their bills? And
Right.
you put that amount, those into their separate accounts for each surcharge?
Right,
Yes, there is a slight surplus.
okay.
And Emily, at the end of the year with KBA, goes through and does those journal entries to make sure that they are all put where they need to be.
Okay. So like, if we had extra in there, if we looked at those accounts, could we put that towards the principal? On that
Yes.
particular account for that?
And that's
Yes.
part of that yearly review, correct, that Tom just read?
Yes, yep.
Of the surplus
Because
bond
we collect
accounts?
110% of what it,
Right.
so there should be a,
There would be something we could put towards that to get it paid off sooner and get rid of that surcharge.
Let me ask this, and maybe I missed it when reading through it, is that fund or what we have with regard to, in reference to the surcharges, is that so supposed to be just kind of a balancing? We're collecting what we need and we don't have, or is there?
Basically, the state wants to make sure that they're gonna get paid.
We
So
keep-
they
we-
set these amounts and percentages
Right.
accordingly, so that when you are short, you have the other years when you were not.
Oh, sure.
Well, and that way too, if you have people that don't pay, you've got that 10% coverage.
Yep.
Where you're 10% over to cover any deficiencies, it said.
Yeah, and I haven't seen like what the extra is or anything, so, you know, you may have to carry some over for the next year in case something didn't get paid up like it should.
Yeah,
But,
but I also
but if there was a large surplus, it wouldn't be bad to put it towards it.
agree. And that's, you know, something we could look at on a yearly basis with regard to that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you don't know what the bids are gonna come in at.
Yeah, we don't know what the bids are coming in.
Really
Yeah.
high, it's scrap hole.
Yeah,
Well,
everything,
yeah, there's
yeah,
that
and that's a
too.
good point. Terry
Yeah.
said, we don't know what the bids are gonna come in.
True.
And if they're to the point we can't, you know, move forward, you know, when those bids come in, then we're gonna have to make the, you know, the
Right.
decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now, we're just making sure we secure the funding if we do say yes,
And that's what we're doing, we're making,
which is the way things look like they're going, but
yeah,
gotta have the funding in place
okay.
to say yes or no.
Okay.
This is something I asked Cindy before, but I want to just make sure that we have, when, if we go with the surcharges, when will they start being collected? As soon as the bids, or when do we start?
I know with the previous projects, you guys started them right away, so we could start using that revenue off the utility bills to pay the interest incurred while the project is going. So every time you request money from the state that they awarded you, that interest goes up.
Okay, Okay.
And they charge you interest the entire time the construction project is going on. So whomever gets the bid, they put a pay app in, we pay it, we submit that to the state for funding, they reimburse us out of that loan and grant money. And then as we request those loan funds, the interest starts incurring.
Okay.
And we have to pay that all along
Okay.
until we close everything out, everything's finalized, and then we
Okay.
have our final
Okay.
amortization schedule.
Very good. You said that a lot better than I could. Okay. Any other discussion? We have a second, right?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to approve resolutions 2024-6. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Nay.
Do we have two? Okay, motion carried in a 4-2 vote. Okay,
What's that?
yeah, Tammy. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, okay. With a 4-2, the motion carried, or passes. Okay. Moving on with the water storage project, abandoned well, the RPS. Who's gonna- Request for proposal, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, that's what that stands for, yeah. So we're asking for a request for proposal to abandon the wells.
Camden wants to know if he can move forward with those requests, just to abandon the wells.
Nothing else.
We have that, funding is already secured for that portion.
Yes, is that,
It's project money eligible. Until these resolutions are passed and published and they're not referred, we can't collect that money from the state yet. This is all still on phase 4. But this is a very small portion of that project, which is why it didn't have to go to bid. But yes, it is project eligible. Does that answer your question?
He has it estimated at 41,300.
Yeah.
And we have that money, once these resolutions are passed, secured, we could send in for payment.
Once
Yep.
the resolutions are in place, our surcharges are in place, we can request the proper funding from the state with that phase 4. Yep.
Make a motion, we move forward with the request for proposal for the capping of the wells.
okay,
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to, for the abandoning the wells, the water storage project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay. Item number 10, Phase 4 utilities. We have option 1 and option 2. As far as option 1, go to bid, or option 2, wait on funding. And in the information you received, and I will read that to you, that this was submitted by Camden with regard to our SPN project engineer. Option one is to proceed with bidding now, and I'm just going to give you his rationale for both options. This will hopefully secure more favorable bids than waiting, since there are a lot of projects that will bid soon. We will know the actual cost of the project. We will not know the actual cost of the project until it is bid. If the bid confirms the shortage of funds, we can proceed to award. If the bid confirms the shortage of funds, we can proceed to award the project with a deduction charge order that reduces the scope of the project to within the funding available. Then the city can proceed with additional funding requests. When the new funding, if acceptable to the city council, is available, the project scope that was cut out by change order can be added back in. So that's, and then option number 2, wait on new funding. The new funding request should be decided June 6, or in June. Once the funding is known, or when the funding is in place, and if the city council approves, the project could then go to bid. This would probably push back the bidding until from July to September. The problem is that when we do not know the cost of the project until it is bid, also there is a big number of projects that will be bid soon, which might increase the construction cost or eliminate the bidders from the construction project entirely. So each of the council members had from our meeting with Camden the other day, but I wanted our constituents to be aware of the 2 options we have and the situations faced with each option.
It's really hard to try to make any decisions on it until you know what it costs, and the only way to know what it costs is have it bid, so I make a motion that we go ahead to have it bid.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, we will proceed with the bidding, motion and second to proceed with the bidding option so we know what the cost is going to be. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is liquor license renewals. And
I will make one comment. Letter E, Family Dollar Stores. We did not get their application back in the mail. We have until the 20th of May to send those applications in, so it's up to you whether you want to approve that contingent upon the proper documentation being received along with the fees, or make them wait until the next meeting. I don't mind either way.
They're big enough, they should have gotten it here.
We got 2 meetings in May before that, or just 1?
May 6th.
Just the 1. I make a motion right now, we approve liquor license renewals A through D and table E until the next meeting.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, I'm just going to read through. So the liquor renewal license will be given for the Cowboy Country Store, for the Dollar General Store, for Pump and Pack, and for the Turtle Creek Saloon. And the Family Dollar will be at the next council meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, on page 21, that's the request. I do have 21. For Cindy and Christie to attend the South Dakota Governmental Human Resource School in Spearfish on June 11th and 12th, which is a Tuesday and a Wednesday.
And I would have included the finance officer agenda, but they didn't have it out on the website yet.
Oh. So these are both the same day then?
HR school starts at noon on a Tuesday, goes till noon on Wednesday. FO school starts at noon on Wednesday, goes till noon on Friday.
Oh.
It takes place at the Holiday Inn in Spearfish this year.
Okay.
And I would request permission to allow both Christy and I to attend. It would be really good for her, being a new deputy.
Yeah.
I make a motion to allow Cindy and Christy to go to school with Cindy's discretion on if we have another employee here for bill time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Cindy and Christie to attend the school, resource school. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. On page 22, we're going to, resolution 24-7, canvass the election result.
You want me to read it?
Would you?
You looked at me like you wanted me to do it. All right, resolution number 2024-7. Whereas SDCL 9-13-5 provides no election shall be held in any municipality or ward thereof where there are no opposing candidates for any office, and the finance officer shall issue certificates of election to the nominees in the same manner as to successful candidates after election. And whereas SDCL 9-13-24 provides the election returns shall be reported as soon as possible to the finance officer. And within 7 days of the election, the governing body shall canvass the election returns, declare the result, and enter the result on its journal. And whereas SDCL 9-13-27.3 provides in part that if any candidates for the municipal governing body is defeated by a margin not exceeding 2% of the total votes cast for all candidates for office, or by a margin of 5 votes or less, the candidate may, within 5 days after completion of the official canvass, file with the municipal finance officer a written request for a recount. The finance officer shall set the time and place for the recount within 10 days of the date of the receipt of the recount request. Whereas, on Tuesday, the 9th day of April 2024, pursuant to notice duly given, an election was held in the city of Miller, South Dakota, for the purpose of electing an Alderman Ward 1 2-year term, and whereas the Common Council of the city of Miller, South Dakota, did meet as prescribed by law to canvass the votes and as such examine the poll books, tally sheets, and other documents pertaining to said election on April 9th, 2024, and as a result of said examination, the following determination was made and entered on its journal. Ward 1 Alderman, Keisha Baranek with 61 votes, Gail Auk with 79 votes, total voters 140, and ballots counted 140. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Miller, South Dakota, that Gail E. Auk be declared elected Alderman Ward 1 for a term of 2 years, and the finance officer be instructed to issue certificate of election to said candidate. Dated this 15th day of April, 2024.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, with,
Congratulations, Gail.
yes, congratulations, Gail. And appreciation for Keisha's interest too, so. With that, I entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2024-7.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 2024-7. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, a motion has been made and second to approve all bills submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion has it.
Make a motion, we move into executive session, personal pursuant SDCL 1-25-2, parentheses 1.
Second.
Okay,
After I use the restroom.
yeah,
Yeah.
8:20.
We've been sitting here.
Thank you.
Oh, I gotta move my
We
knee.
have to use the bathroom.
Still might be.
You wanna help me up, Tom?
Oh, I got a headache.
That's too long.